My name is Gwen Fannin, and this is my second movie analysis for Nursing NURB 461, Nursing Leadership and Management for Morehead State University. The movie I'm going to be evaluating today is If These Walls Could Talk. It was a 1996 HBO film that is a dramatic portrayal of three women's struggle with the issue of abortion. This topic is so controversial that it actually took them 7 years to get funding for anyone to actually make the film, and Demi Moore and Cher are in the film and had a lot of influence on getting this movie produced. So it starts out, the other link that connects these women is not only that they're dealing with abortion, but that each of them live in the same house in Chicago during different decades. The first one starts out in 1952, and Demi Moore plays the character Claire, who is a nurse at the local hospital, and she is a young woman, probably in her 30s, that is widowed because her husband was killed in the service, and she's very distraught and tries to deal with the depression and the loss of her husband. She's still very close to his family, and they are still very supportive of her, and she at one point in the film is very depressed, and her brother-in-law attempts to console her, and during that consoling they have a little one-night stand that results in a pregnancy. Well, obviously in 1952 in Chicago, abortion is illegal. She is a nurse and inquires to several people there about saying that it's for a friend, that she was trying to find someone who will help her, and they all tell her that, you know, it's illegal and that they can't do that. And then one nurse finally gives her a name of a woman to call, which she does, and the woman tells her that there's someone that she trusts, that, you know, it's a clean environment and that they can help her, but it's $1,000 and the person is in Puerto Rico. Well, obviously Claire is unable to afford that, so she says, I'll try to find someone else for you. And she finally comes up with this man who is going to do it for $400 and will contact her and come to her house. So she really wrestles with this decision. She doesn't have anyone to confide in. She's very alone. The movie is very good about showing the struggle that she has with this issue. At one point she is so distraught and so overcome with not being able to find someone this was before she found someone to help her, that she actually tried to end the pregnancy herself with a knitting needle. And then at that point, her sister-in-law comes and is there and is wondering why she is so upset. And she finally, and that's the one person that in her family or that knows her, that she tells that she's pregnant. And the woman is just totally shuns her and tells her that she's disgracing their family, and how could she do that? So it once again re-edifies that feeling of aloneness that she has with this struggle. So anyway, to end this first part of the film, she has the man that comes to her house. She doesn't want to give him, he wants the money up front, and she doesn't want to give it to him until he finishes. And of course he plays on her desperation and the fact, knowing that, you know, there's no one else that she can get, and just is going to leave. And of course, you know, she gives him the money. They do the procedure in her kitchen. And it is you can tell it's very painful for her, very embarrassing. She asks him to wash his hands, and if the instruments are sterile, that's coming from her nurse standpoint. And he again plays on her desperation, saying, do you want this done or not, you know, kind of thing. So of course she relents and has the procedure done, and then once he's finished, he just leaves her and says, if you start hemorrhaging, call the hospital. And again, it shows the aloneness that she has of this decision. And so what actually happens to her is, before she can call the hospital, she actually is on the phone and is hemorrhaging and dies at the end of this. So it does have a very dramatic ending to her situation. And then the next situation is in the same house again, is set in 1974 with a woman named Barbara Barrows, played by Sissy Spacek. and she is a middle-aged housewife that already has 4 children. Her husband and her are, a struggling family with 4 children. He is a police officer that works night shift, and she is finally, thinking that she's finished with her reproductive life and having children, and she's going back to college, and she finds out that she's pregnant. I mean, she has teenage children, and she struggles with what to do. Again, another thing that this one shows, even though it ends differently than the other situations, is that it shows the aloneness that she has, and that it's a decision that she is alone making. At first, there's not a lot of support. She does question abortion, and she calls and inquires about it. Now, at this point in time, in 1974, most people would know in 1973, Roe versus Wade made abortion a legal thing in all 50 states. Actually, before then, what the issue was is that it was left up to each state individually on whether they had laws against abortion, and in most states it was illegal, as in Chicago in 1952 with Demi Moore's character. But in 1973, Roe versus Wade overturned all of those state statutes and actually made them unlawful, and that abortion would be legal in all 50 states. So this is just a year after that ruling, and so it shows Sissy Spacek asking about abortion, but she doesn't physically go to an abortion clinic. Her teenage daughter actually overhears her and gets very defiant and very upset, because her husband's first response is, what are we going to cut back on? The oldest daughter going to a private college, and of course the teenage daughter rebels against that, feeling like, her mother is messing with her life by her choice of, getting pregnant. So in the end, anyway, it shows her looking at all of her children in the kitchen, and she actually decides to keep the child and does not have an abortion in this situation. And then the last scenario is set in 1996 with a young woman who is Christine, who is in college, played by Anne Heche, who has her roommate, her best friend, is played by Jada Pinkett Smith, and she struggles. She has an affair with a married professor, and actually she finds herself pregnant and didn't consider abortion until the married professor offered her money to get rid of the baby. And then that's when she starts thinking, what am I going to do? I can't raise this baby on my own. She was raised in a Roman Catholic family and was supposedly the good girl in her family, so she has no support from her family. And actually her best friend actually shuns her for even thinking about abortion and doesn't want to have anything to do with her. So of course she engages in risky behavior and drinking and comes home drunk. Actually goes to an abortion clinic one time, and this is during a time of a lot of protesting of the abortion clinics, and had to be taken back by security. She was bombarded with people at the front telling her she didn't need to do it, that they would help her, that they would assist her financially. So when she goes in and talks, she actually decides not to do it the first time she goes. And then she starts drinking and partying and comes home drunk, and her roommate is very disgusted with her, and she finally tells her, she starts crying. Anne Heche's character starts crying and says, why am I being punished? It was a mistake. It was a mistake, and why are you going to hate me because I made a mistake? So her friend actually agrees to go with her back to the abortion clinic, and this is the only incident. Now, again, a lot of protesters, they're rioting, it is just a very bad scenario outside of the clinic when she goes the second time, to the point to where there's cops there, barricades, people being violent on the outside of the clinic, and she finally goes in. Now, the doctor in the clinic, Dr. Beth Thompson, is portrayed by Cher in this movie, and actually Cher directed this portion of the film, and it shows her being harassed by the people outside the clinic. She actually wears a bulletproof vest into the clinic. and comes in, and inside the clinic itself, this was the one time that I actually see them address the other side of the coin, when they counsel Christine about her decision for abortion, because she's very indecisive. And she talks with her, and she says, Christine asked the woman, you know, I hear that it's painful for the baby, you know, will it hurt them, will they feel it? And she honestly tries to answer her questions about that side. And this is the only time in the film that you're going to see, you know, them addressing that other side of the issue. So they do counsel her. They're very, it's a very nice environment, you know, very supportive toward her. She does inquire about the people outside, saying, you know, that they could help her monetarily and with things. And the woman says initially, she does, you know, give them kudos and says initially they will help you, but of course after the initial thing, you know, obviously they're not going to help you your entire life. And so again, she struggles with the fact that she doesn't have a job and she's in college and she can't tell her family. She doesn't have the support of the father of the baby, so she's basically, you know, on her own again. So this time around, she, with her friend there, Claire does go with her, even though she is vehemently opposed to abortion. And Christine goes through with the abortion this time, and there's a person with her. Cher's character, Dr. Thompson, is explaining everything to her, and Christine actually asks Dr. Thompson, you know, with all the threats and everything that you go through, why do you do this? And Cher's character says, because I remember when this wasn't legal, and I help women, and they thank me every day for helping them, and I never want to see it be that way again. So they actually do the procedure and talk her through it, and Christina's crying through the procedure, and they are supportive of her. And actually what happens is someone comes into the room as they're finishing the end of the procedure, and a young man shoots Cher's character, and actually I think Christine gets shot in the leg during this, because she's actually still up on the table, and then leaves. So Cher's character dies in the end with Christine holding her in the floor, and then that's how the whole film ends. So this is, again, about an issue of abortion. It's very controversial. There are no I think there's no clear-cut side to be on, because I feel like every situation is different. You don't know a person's situation. Obviously, everyone has a right to their opinion, but resorting to violence is not the answer to the opposite side of this situation. So it takes me back to a quote by Atticus Finch in To Kill a Mockingbird by Harper Lee. You never really understand a person until you consider things from their point of view, until you climb into their skin and walk around in it. So until you start casting judgment on someone and wondering, just totally criticizing their decision, you really need to know what their journey has been before you can judge their path that they've taken. So it's a very good film. A little weak in some areas on portraying the other side, like I said, but it does show the loneliness and the anxiety that these women struggle with, and trying to do what they think is best in their lives. And that is the end, and I thank you for your time.